Hey, what's up guys, TechTime here, and I am back again with a brand new video. So before I begin this video, as always, I want to thank you all so much for watching this one. If you enjoy my content, you know what to do. Make sure you leave a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and I'll leave my Instagram down below if you guys want to see more sample pictures of the Galaxy A52. And with that being said, yeah, as promised, I told you guys I will be doing a more in-depth camera review on this phone. I'll leave my video link to the previous video that I did on this phone. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the Samsung Galaxy A52, this variant is the 5G variant, but there's not really anything different as far as the camera goes. It's just the 5G technology is the only thing that's different. And the Galaxy A52, let's start with the actual module itself. So you have a quad camera set up with the LED flash, and it's all in this basically this kind of squarish, oval squarish shape. And each camera lens, except for the last camera, has this silver ring surrounding it, I guess for aesthetics more than anything else. And here is the sensor quality, and here are the specs of the camera itself. So starting with the main sensor, it's a 64 megapixel at f1.8 aperture. It is a standard wide lens, and it does have optical image stabilization. And you also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide at 123 degrees, and it is at f2.2 aperture. You also have a 5 megapixel macro sensor at f2.4 and a 5 megapixel depth sensor at also f2.4, and of course your LED flash is there. And as far as video capability, you have this phone supports 4K at 30 frames or 1080p at 30 or 60 frames per second, and it does use the gyro electronic image stabilization for video. And as far as your front-facing camera, it is a nice 32 megapixel f2.2 aperture, a standard wide lens, and also surprisingly supports 4K at 30 frames per second and 1080p at 30 frames per second as far as video goes. And yeah, I mean, that's really the basic of specs. And the camera does sort of protrude quite a bit, so this one is not going to be laying flat on a table. And that's that. Now, as far as the camera app itself, it's just what you expect. It's your standard Samsung camera app, quick, fast, a lot of settings, so definitely flexibility in that department. And you can easily switch between your lenses and from your standard to your wide angle. And you also even have, it uses digital zooms, but it does a good job in that when you actually zoom into a subject. So it doesn't have a dedicated telephoto lens or anything like that. And as far as taking pictures go, it's very quick, and that's expected, of course. And the settings, like I said, you have plenty of options. You can choose a lot of things. Now let's actually talk about why you guys are actually here, which is the picture quality. So starting with this branch right here. And here I really just wanted to test out the colors and how it performs as far as focus, shadow, and things like that. And the color on this first picture is actually pretty decent. It's not the greatest thing in the world, and it's definitely not going to be competing with the S21 or the S20 or something like that, but that's to be expected. Now, the greens are slightly saturated. However, as far as the shadows go, if you zoom in on the picture, the left-hand side, it does do kind of a okay job in bringing out the light in the shadows, if you get what I mean. And yeah, but overall, a very good picture. Now, next up, I wanted to test out also the color, but the depth sensor in general. And it does seem like it just does a lot of software depth. It just puts a lot of software effort into it. It's very aggressive. And you can see that it kind of missed focus on the whole object in general. The lines on the right and the left-hand side, the edges, it doesn't do a fantastic job, but it's hard to tell if you're looking at it from a distance. And the colors, like I said, is just what you expect. Definitely saturated, very good, and very acceptable quality. So these are pictures that you would be able to post if you use social media a lot. Now, this next picture, I really want to test out the sharpness in a way, and also the different cameras that it has. So you have your, again, it does a pretty good job in color, and it brings out the sharpness in the picture. And overall, I'm liking this particular picture. And if we actually zoom in, it doesn't have a telephoto lens, but when you zoom in due to the macro sensor, it does also a better job in bringing out the sharpness in the photo itself. Definitely impressive for a phone at this price point. Now, next up, the kind of a wide angle lens. Now, there is definitely loss in color, a loss in saturation, and a loss in sharpness when you switch to the wide angle lens. That is to be expected. It took a quality loss. If you see these side by side, it's not as green, or it's not as black, and it's not as sharp. And yeah, that's for comparison, but it's still a wide angle, so it's kind of fun to use. And here's a picture where I used the sort of the macro sensor versus the actual standard main sensor, and you can see that the color does shift. So on the right hand side you have the flowers in a vibrant red, saturated red, whereas on the left hand side it does do a nice job in making sure that the picture is sharp, but it did shift the color to more of a pinkish hue. So that's something to also keep in mind. And as far as the selfie camera goes, it's definitely a pretty good selfie camera. It's not as aggressive as in the past when it comes to the beauty mode. So there's definitely a slight sharpness in there, and I'm pretty satisfied. And you have a digital wide lens within the front-facing camera. And as far as the video goes, the quality itself of the video, it's not bad. It does seem a bit scaled up, but it's definitely not bad, and the stabilizer does a fantastic job, and you can switch between your standard and your wide lens, and you can even do your macro sensor too. Now I did slight color grading so I can tell the difference, see if it makes a difference, and it definitely did. So with a little bit of effort on your end, if you want to use this phone to record for YouTube or anything like that, you can definitely make that happen. So that's also something to keep in mind. And overall, this is definitely a very satisfactory camera. It does a fantastic job in a lot of situations for this phone at this price point. So yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a thumbs up. Definitely impressed by this camera. And make sure you also subscribe to the channel for more coverage. And if you guys want to see more sample pictures, follow me on Instagram. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.